Hi there everyone, just in case anyone's having a similar problem, I thought I'd do a quick video whilst I was in the middle of fixing my 2016 TFSI Quattro DSG Audi A3. So it's come up with a fault on the dash. It is a bit intermittent, but it comes up saying gearbox fault, shift to park, contact workshop. The error code was to do with the gear selector. I'll put a note on the screen as to what the fault code was. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head now, but basically it was an implausible signal from the gear selector switch. Apparently it's a common fault with these. There's a micro switch inside here that logs where the gear stick is. Now the car is driving okay, and the lights have actually gone off since they were on for a day or two, and now there's no warning lights on the dashboard at all now regarding this. I saw online that somebody said if you just put into park drive repeatedly when you're at the standstill, just kind of back and forth, that it can clean some of the gunk that builds up on the micro switch inside. Now typically what you'd have to do before would be to have replaced this whole unit here, which obviously is I think I'm right in saying is a gearbox out job. It's deep in, it goes right down into the engine, not the engine, into the transmission tunnel down there, and connects to the gearbox somewhere. As I understand it, that might be wrong, but understand that that's a gearbox out job. But because they had so many problems with them, Audi Volkswagen have come up with this bypass switch. Now I bought this from somebody called KWJ Performance, who are advertising online. It's a genuine Audi part. It says VWAG there. There's no part number on it, but you need to be able to get to this point here before you can confirm what switch you need. Apparently there are a couple of switches. There are ones like this. This particular one happens to be white, and I'm guessing is because this part here is white. There are some, depending on the age and gearbox type, etc., and expect that are black. And so the black ones, when this is black, need a different switch. So as I understand it, all this does, you can see those two bolts there. You can see that there, 2 bolts there, and then there's one on this side, and that's mirrored just here, 1, 2, 3. So that kind of sits on top there in the existing holes. You take those 3 screws out, you replace it with longer screws that come in the pack, and then you plug it in. Now the only place that I can see with anything remotely similar plug wise is that plug there. If you notice, there's a little, there's sponge all around here, it's a bit of a pain. There's like one of those little, you pull that blue tab there and it should slide out. Now I'm struggling to get it out at the moment, but if I look at the actual part, the only bit that has anything remotely like that, because there's this clip here, which there are 3 clips, just for you to know. So how I got this out was just 2 trims. I've got a set of them, but I got 2 of the narrowest, longest ended trims I could get. I just pop one in there, give it a pop, and the whole thing comes out. Now you need to take the rubber strip out of there, and then it literally just lifts up. So obviously I've taken this up, and with this, literally what you do with this when it's in position in the car, just pop your hand inside and you literally just pull it, and it just pops up. So you can pull that up, then you can take the trim out, put the gearbox into neutral, and then you have to kind of wiggle this just kind of through the hole and then unplug these. So there are 2 plugs at this end, and there's 1 plug just here in front of the gear stick. So just for people who are unfamiliar, when you're trying to get that out, it's plugged like that, and then it's got one of those little, what's it called, in the side. So you press that and pop it out. This one, it's got the clip on the back, same thing though. It's a little bit like that. You just press that. I found mine quite tough to get out, but you basically pop that out, and then this one, again, it's got a little clip on the side. So you just press that and bloody give it a good old yank. Like I say, it's quite stiff to get out. And then you get to this point. So this is where we are now. So I'm just trying to work out kind of, you know, where this goes, because there's a, I'm not sure what that is there, because there's another, actually saying that, there's another bit there, not sure what that is. Oh, I tell you what that probably is then. So that'll be, right, so this I'm guessing is going to have to go, okay, so we've got that end and we've got that end. So my guess is, I don't know for sure, but that's got to come out, which I'm struggling with at the minute. That has got to go in, and then that one would be my guess, plugs into the end of there. And then once that's done, 3 screws and you're in. The other thing you just have to do is, if you notice on the top, there are 2 screws here already. This thing has a, and there's the little micro switch there, so that's the override. So when you put that into park, it should be in a position where the gear lever just there touches that and pushes it in, as you can see there. But this thing here has a little bit of adjustment. You can see it just slides up and down, so you can just kind of fine-tune that and then bolt down these two screws here and lock it in place. So that's where we are at the moment. I'm going to just try and get that one out because I'm struggling a minute, and then I'll come back to you once that is out and let you know how I did it. It won't be a sec. Okay, so here we go. So just as an update, as you can see, the part is out. This is quite a tough thing. So when you're trying to reach in there with your thumb, I just found this difficult to push that all the way down. So what I did was I grabbed the little pliers and I pinched it from there, and I pulled it all the way down with the pliers, and it popped straight out. Okay, so that's that. So like I say, I think that goes in the back of this extension on the part, I'm pretty sure. So that goes in where that one's just come out of. The one I've just taken out, I'm pretty sure, goes in there, and then the whole system is bypassed. So I'll just, the sponge is a bit of a pain. Just get rid of this out of the way. I'll put this other one on and I'll come back to you when that's done. Okay, so that part, the new part, is plugged in. The existing part is now plugged into this extension, override, whatever. I'll just tuck that down there. So the next bit now is to just take those 4 bolts out, 3 little nuts, little star nuts, those things there, whatever you call them. I'll just whack them out, and we'll see what it looks like when it's fitted. Okay, bit fiddly, but we got there in the end. So like I said, so you basically take out the 3 screws that are there, which are down there. The pack comes with 3 slightly longer screws because obviously it's got to cover the extra depth. So you basically just take them out, pop that into place, and then screw it down. So the next stage, and the final stage, if you want to call it that, is that's in park. Is that in park? Yeah, so that's in park now. So what I'm trying to do is just make sure that that is pressed in on the, I can feel it. If I do that, I can just feel a little resistance on the thing. So I think the idea is you kind of push it up so that it's pressed in like that, and I'll just tighten these 2 screws up. We'll see where we are. Yeah, okay, so I'll just tighten those 2 bolts up. I'll nip them up a bit tighter later, but if you could just see that little, I don't know whether that's part of this, but if I just do that, you can just see that little grommet on the top there moving, which shows me that the gear selector is now pressing that little switch in. There's a little, like I say, there's a little switch inside. I think I showed you, but you do that and you can just see it moving, which shows that that selector is now being pressed in. So basically, so we're not, I can't, so I've got, I think I'm right in saying that I've got to put everything back together before I can confirm that everything's okay on there. Now, like I said, there hasn't been any warning the last 2 days regarding the gearbox. Like I say, a quick fix that I saw was you just kind of do park, brake, park drive, do that, you know, a couple of dozen times or whatever. See, the guy in the video said 50 times, but just go back and forth, and sometimes it'll clear the fault, and you may just be lucky that it was a bit of gunk or something. Now, I paid £119 for this part from, like I say, I think they were called KWJ Performance somewhere, and I paid 15 quid for extra fast delivery, so that actually cost me £134. But you know, I think that the long and short of it is that you don't want to be driving around with warning signs popping up on your dash all the time. And I always think when things get worse, they will probably bring you more problems down the line. So, you know, for example, you might be driving around and suddenly the car doesn't know what gear it's in, and obviously, you know, you can't select a gear, or you lose drive or something. You know, for the sake of a relatively small, and it's not a small amount of money, but it's a relatively small amount of money, it just seemed sensible to give this a go. So here we are. So shall I mean, I don't know if anyone needs a video of putting this cover back on, but I'll see what I can do, put the clips on and do it one-handed. Okay, 2 videos, so I'll have to try and knit these 2 videos together because I must have accidentally pressed stop on the last one instead of pause. So anyway, there's the actual center console, as you can see there. So if you've got one of this model here, you'll recognize that center console, and the whole thing comes out all the way down to this level here, just because when I was doing it first, I was using a shorter, I didn't have a full set, I only had one very short trim tool, and I couldn't get it deep enough, and it was only bringing it up, it was kind of splitting it, so it was only this oh, that shit fell out of there. Look at that crap in there. This bit was coming up and this bit was staying put, so I needed longer ones that went down. So basically you just put 2 at the back of there and they pop up, and then as you can see you've got just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clips, but once you pull that, they all just pop up, and then when you're putting it back, you've got these 2 guides here which go into these grooves here, just here, look, and then this is in place. Now you can remove this and the gear knob and stuff, but I didn't. So you just gotta, when you're putting this in, you just gotta kind of jiggle this around like that and twist it to get it back through, you know, back through this hole. So let me do that first, and then we'll plug some things back in. Okay, so yeah, so we're locked in at that end here. So this piece here is where that rubber piece eventually sits. So you just pull that out, and then you've got those 2 feeders there. You feed them in, wiggle, you twist this a little bit, and you kind of twist this around like that, you know, get a funny shape on it so you can get it through the hole, and then you let it drop down. It's better, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned on the first video, when you're doing a lot of this, you obviously need the ignition on, you need the gearbox in sort of neutral, because if it's in park and it's up here, you haven't got enough room, so you need it in here, so it's kind of more upright, and it's easier to kind of jiggle everything around and kind of pull it up, rather than try and twist it when the gear stick is like that, rather than up vertically. So yeah, I hope that helps. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to plug in these 3 connectors underneath, which, like I say, now when it's in, you can only kind of lift it there, so it's a little bit fiddly, but you can see 2 there, and like I say, there's 1 at the front. So we'll just grab those, we'll get those plugged in, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, so we've got 3 in. So one you can see just there, and then the other 2 red ones, oops, 1 there and 1 there. So they're all plugged in now. So make sure nothing is caught, and then hopefully just pop this bad boy down. So push it forward and then lock it down. Yeah, looks like it's easy enough. Let's just check the trim gaps. Yeah, okay, so trim down, and then that just literally pushes down like that, and oh, hang on, just pop that bit in there like that. and then that just literally pushes straight in, and then just press it down all the way around. So yeah, so basically what you do is you put your hand in, find the lip underneath, and just give it a good old yank when you're taking that out. So let's see what happens if I start it up. Okay, so just started the car up. Now I did have a slight issue then. I wasn't recording it, unfortunately, but when I started it, nothing would happen, and I had a parking brake error up here, parking brake with like lightning signs over it, even though the parking brake was showing us on. I had the yellow triangle down here. The car wouldn't start. I was turning the key, nothing was happening, it was silent, and I couldn't get it out to park at all. Anyway, about 10 seconds afterwards, it fired up. The warning lights have gone, and now I've got full thing. So I think what happens is, I think when you first set it and you plug it in, I think what happens is, I think it must take a couple of seconds for it to actually, you know, it's not just you plug it in and it's automatic. I think you have to plug it in, and then you just have to wait 10 seconds for the car to recognize the new part. But it looks like, I'm just gonna take it for a quick spin. Okay, so as far as I can tell, I mean, just worth mentioning, my car, I've had this car now, it's 2016 now, so it's 2025 now. I've had this car since it's done 29,000 miles, and it's now done 127,000 miles. It's been largely faultless. We've had a couple of electrical gremlins just recently. One with the gearbox, but the actual gearbox inside the actual gearbox underneath the car, not electronics as such, but it was a couple of loose wires in there, it turned out. Just worth mentioning, if any of you guys, I mean, there's a place in Bristol called Milter Technology. They are DSG specialists. If they ever have any problems with these, I highly recommend them. Like I say, just another extra there in case anyone does have issues. They are absolutely superb. Yeah, so there we go, guys. Trim's back in, all the plugs are in, everything seems to be working, all the lights are coming on, radio seems to be working, is it? Yeah. Obviously the gearbox is working. We have no warning lights, although we didn't have any of them to start with. As I say, it's been coming on and off. What I'll do is I'll run it now. I'll run it for a few days or a week or so, and if it doesn't come back on, I'll just do a quick follow-up video or something and just let you know that it seems to have worked. But yeah, anyway, okay, well, hopefully it's been useful. I mean, when I was looking for a sort of a do-it-all video for this, I could only find people showing bits of it, showing the part, for example, showing it with sort of little bits of it. They weren't showing the whole job. So if anyone's have any problems, hopefully that's been useful. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. Okay guys, I wasn't expecting to do a follow-up video half an hour after the first ones, but slight issue with the fitment. So when I did it, obviously everything was fine, all working, showing us P, managed to get the key out, lock the car, been for a drive, had to go somewhere else briefly, only about 10 or 15 minutes away. When we got there, put it in park, no problem, showing park on the dash and everything, but can't get the key out, which would suggest that it's not registering as in park on here. So during the drive, when I've obviously, so after I did the job, I put it into park, and then we've driven off and I've got down there and whatever, that maybe the switch inside has moved and it's not pressing the switch, I don't think, because I have had the key out of the ignition after doing the job, but now I can't get it out of the ignition. So I think obviously putting it into park, and maybe it's pushed the thing too far and I haven't tightened the things up. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to do the whole bloody thing again, because I'm going to have to get all of this up, unplug it, take this out, and do the whole thing again. So there's probably a lesson there, in as much as you need to tighten that switch really tighten it down, because I guess it can get moved and then the micro switch isn't being pressed, and then it doesn't allow you to take the key out of the ignition, which is where we are now. I just can't get it out. And if I turn the ignition on and open the door, it says shift to park. Doors do not lock if lever is not in park. So it appears though it's not registering as being in park. Like I say, it has done, because I took the keys out after I did the job, locked the car, and then we came back out of the car a little while later and we went off for a drive. So something's happened in the meantime. So I'm gonna have to do the whole bloody thing again. So yeah, I'll see how it goes. Okay, I'm sure this will be the last video I do on this. It's all going to be stitched together, so as far as you guys are concerned, it's going to be one video, I think. But yeah, so further to the last bit where I was saying that I couldn't get the key out, I did do a video on it, but for some reason there was no sound, so I've had to do the video again. But basically what I did was I got back home. I did initially start thinking to take this up. I think I did take this up again. But when I took the leather out, when I pulled the leather gaiter out of the holding again, I could actually get to the actual switch, because it sits just there, if you remember. So it just sits in there, and I thought I was going to have to take it all up, you know, unplug all the 3 plugs and kind of. But as it turned out, when I took this off, it then registered as in park, which is a bit weird, and I was able to get the key out. So it looks as though I fiddled with the switch a little bit, but it didn't actually do anything. I couldn't tighten them up because I couldn't quite get, because of where it's situated. You're not going straight onto the screw, so I couldn't actually tighten it up any further. But when I took this out, it actually, and I started it and shut it off again, I actually I put it back into park, and I got the key out. So what I think what had happened was, somehow here, whether I've pushed this down too far or something, so it's slightly more raised than it would be normally now. But it would appear as though, because if I put my hand down there and poke about, I can actually feel the little silver bit that sticks up the top, you know, the one you could see moving when I put her into park, when I was on the earlier part of the video. When I was putting it in park, you could kind of see the little silver thing doing that. And I'm not sure if maybe the leather or something there had just caught in it and it's prevented the switch from engaging. Anyway, I took this back out. I've had a little fiddle with it. I've been driving around. We've been out and about. I've put her into drive park quite a few times in the last hour or two, and it's absolutely fine. So I think it was just a case of this here, something there, preventing the little switch from registering. But like I say, I've used it now, and it's been. Sorry, the bloody video went off again. Right, yeah. So it just looks like it's just something that happened just by there. So anyway, so it was probably you know, user error or fitter error than anything else. And like I say, I'm still error free on the dashboard, fault free on the dashboard. And like I say, I can go into drive, go back into park, and then shut it off. Key comes out. So yeah, so just a little one. If you're doing it, when you put all this back together, make sure, because there are some wires again here as well, make sure the wires, there's a wire, like a little clip by here for one of the wires, make sure that's clipped in, and make sure when you push everything together that the wires are not kind of down there, or the leather's not down there, and then it should be a good one. Okay, like I say, hopefully it's been helpful. See you later.